Have you ever wondered how American families managed to survive when the cupboards were nearly empty? During the Great Depression, people turned desperation into creativity, crafting sandwiches from lard, onions, even ketchup, and calling it dinner. These weren't just meals, they were stories of resilience, love, and sheer ingenuity that fed a nation through its hardest times. Stay with us, because what you're about to discover isn't just food history, it's the flavor of survival itself. If you love uncovering America's forgotten past, hit like and subscribe. You won't believe what came between those two slices of bread. 1. Bologna sandwich. Picture this, a small town kitchen during the Great Depression, the faint hum of a radio in the background and the smell of sizzling bologna curling up in a cast iron pan. For countless families of the 1930s, this wasn't just food, it was a small victory against hunger. A single slice of processed meat stood in for steak, feeding steelworkers, farmers, and school children alike. The ritual was simple but sacred, a slice fried until golden, its edges curling like petals resting on soft white bread with mustard or mayo. Some families scored the edges to keep it flat, others loved the way it puffed, forming tiny cups for grease to gather. It was survival dressed as comfort. As prosperity returned, the bologna sandwich faded from dinner tables, replaced by deli meats and modern abundance. Yet to those who remember, that sound of frying still means hope. It wasn't gourmet, but it was gratitude made edible, a symbol of endurance through America's hardest winters. 2. Bread and butter sandwich. Step back into the 1930s when cupboards were bare and butter was a quiet luxury. The bread and butter sandwich, two simple slices joined by a thin shining layer, spoke of dignity in deprivation. Mothers softened the butter by the stove, spreading it gently to avoid tearing the bread, while children waited, watching as if witnessing a ritual. Sometimes a sprinkle of salt added depth, other times sugar made it feel like dessert. In those lean years, this was lunch, dinner, and comfort all at once. During wartime, mothers packed them into lunch pails, cutting shapes to make the plain meal feel special. It wasn't about flavor, but the tenderness behind it, proof that love could fill what hunger left empty. Today, it may seem impossibly simple, yet its quiet elegance reminds us that nourishment isn't measured in ingredients, but in care. That buttered slice was America's way of saying, we'll get through this. 3. Mayonnaise and banana sandwich. Imagine a warm southern afternoon in the 1940s, cicadas singing outside, and a kitchen filled with the scent of ripe bananas. The mayonnaise and banana sandwich, strange to modern taste buds, was a staple born from thrift and creativity. Depression-era mothers sliced bananas lengthwise, laying them across white bread coated with a whisper of mayo. The tang met sweetness, creating a flavor both confusing and comforting. Some families added sugar for celebration, others simply savored the balance of cheap protein and fruit. Elvis Presley later made a peanut butter version famous, but for many Southerners, the original combination tasted like home. It was creamy, cool, and oddly elegant in its simplicity. As convenience foods took over, this sandwich vanished from lunchboxes. Yet those who remember still smile at its peculiar charm, proof that resilience can taste unexpected. Do you think today's world could ever appreciate such humble genius? 4. Onion sandwich. Close your eyes and picture a coal miner's lunch pail in the 1920s, bread, butter, and thinly sliced onion wrapped in wax paper. The onion sandwich wasn't punishment, it was pride and practicality. Cheap, flavorful, and sturdy, it fueled laborers through 12-hour shifts. Housewives soaked onions in cold water to soften their bite, then patted them dry before layering them neatly. A touch of salt, sometimes a dash of vinegar, turned sharpness into satisfaction. The smell was unmistakable, strong enough that no one dared steal it from another's lunch. For workers, it meant strength and stamina. For families, it meant survival. Over time, onions gave way to deli meats, and the sandwich slipped quietly into memory. Yet its story lingers, like its scent sharp, enduring, and impossible to forget. It reminds us that flavor doesn't always come from luxury, but from the courage to make do with what you have. 5. Ketchup sandwich. There's something heartbreakingly beautiful about the ketchup sandwich. 2 slices of bread, a spread of red sweetness, and the imagination of a hungry child. During the Great Depression, when tomatoes were scarce and vegetables unaffordable, ketchup became a lifeline. Parents toasted the bread to make it feel more substantial, sometimes sprinkling sugar to mimic dessert. School cafeterias even served them, offering a sense of normal to children who knew hunger too well. The sandwich's magic wasn't taste, it was transformation, turning almost nothing into something comforting. When prosperity returned, kids who'd grown up with ketchup sandwiches kept making them nostalgia, dressed in crimson. Today it might draw a laugh, but once it was hope between 2 slices. If you grew up in lean times, maybe you understand that quiet defiance, the way a humble sandwich could taste like triumph when survival itself was the recipe. If you're enjoying this trip, hit like and subscribe for more. 6. Lard sandwich. In the cold hills of Appalachia during the 1930s, the lard sandwich was more than food. It was fuel. A smear of rendered fat across rough bread, could keep a man working from dawn until dusk. Sometimes a pinch of salt, sometimes sugar, depending on whether the day called for strength or solace. It was calorie-dense, honest, and unpretentious survival in its purest form. Families who rendered their own lard swore it tasted richer than anything from a store. On rare Sundays, they'd drizzle molasses for sweetness, transforming poverty into celebration. To outsiders, it might seem unthinkable. To those who lived it, it meant another day of endurance. When butter returned, lard quietly left the table, but its story stayed in the muscle memory of a nation. It teaches that survival has flavor, and sometimes that flavor is courage. Your comments keep these memories alive. Drop yours below. 7. Peanut butter and pickle sandwich. The first bite surprises you, the creamy, nutty comfort of peanut butter meeting the bright snap of dill pickles. Born in the late 1930s, this odd pairing stretched ingredients and awakened taste buds weary from sameness. The acidity cut through the richness perfectly, creating balance where scarcity ruled. Depression-era families discovered it by accident and never let it go. Some used sweet pickles, others swore only dill delivered the right contrast. For children, it was playful. For adults, practical protein that lasted all day. Into the 1950s, rural households kept the tradition alive, proof that innovation isn't always grand. Sometimes it's just necessity with imagination. The sandwich vanished with the rise of processed snacks, but those who've tried it never forget that crunch. It's a reminder that America's best flavors often come from courage to mix what doesn't belong and finding harmony and contrast. 8. Bread and milk sandwich. In the dim lamplight of the 1930s, a mother dipped slices of bread into sweetened milk, pressing them together for her children. The bread and milk sandwich, soft, soggy, and tender, was dessert when no dessert existed. Sugar sprinkled on top turned it into celebration, even when the pantry was nearly bare. Cinnamon, when available, made it smell like hope. Families spoke of it not as poverty but as comfort, a bedtime treat that said you are loved. For children, it was magic bread turned to pudding through a parent's touch. As times improved, this humble dish disappeared from cookbooks but lived on in memory. It teaches a truth that modern abundance forgets that sweetness isn't bought, it's created. The simplest meals often carry the deepest warmth, and this sandwich was proof that love could transform even the plainest crumbs into tenderness remembered for generations. 9. Mock chicken sandwich. When chicken was too dear to buy, American ingenuity rose to the challenge. The mock chicken sandwich, a clever imitation crafted from ground bologna, cracker, crumbs, and seasoning, appeared during wartime rationing in the 1940s. It mimicked the texture and taste of real chicken salad so convincingly that even school cafeterias served it proudly. Housewives mixed it with celery, salt, and sage, tinting it golden to resemble the real thing. Some used beans instead of meat, proving creativity thrived where scarcity ruled. It wasn't deception, it was defiance, a refusal to let hard times steal joy from the table. As prosperity grew, the recipe faded, dismissed as poor food, yet its legacy lives on as a lesson in resilience. Sometimes authenticity isn't about ingredients, but intention, the love that says, we'll make do and it will still be good. Which forgotten creation would your grandparents have loved most? 10. Victory sandwich. At the close of the Second World War, America exhaled and celebrated with the victory sandwich. Built from whatever the pantry held, butter, mustard, leftover vegetables, or scraps of cold meat, it was a symbol of triumph after years of rationing. Housewives crafted them for picnics and parades, proud to serve a meal that no longer carried fear. The name itself carried emotion. Victory wasn't just on the battlefield, but on the dinner table. Every bite tasted like relief, gratitude, and the promise of normal life returning. As decades passed, chefs reimagined it with gourmet flair, but nothing could match the sincerity of that first generation. It was proof that food is memory, that every sandwich tells a story of endurance, recovery, and hope reborn. The victory sandwich remains a quiet anthem of survival, reminding us that peace, like bread, is always meant to be shared. 11. Fried Spam sandwich. Step into a 1940s kitchen where ration books hung beside the stove and cans of Spam lined the shelves like precious treasure. When meat was scarce during wartime, this pink block of mystery became the hero of dinner tables across America. Housewives sliced it thin, frying it until edges crisped and curled, filling homes with a smell both salty and comforting. Between two pieces of bread with mustard or mayonnaise, it felt like luxury reborn. Soldiers carried their love for Spam home, and soon it graced lunch counters and school cafeterias nationwide. In Hawaii, it found a permanent home paired with rice and pineapple, a fusion born from occupation but remembered with affection. The fried Spam sandwich wasn't about glamour, it was about gratitude. Even today, its sizzling echoes remind us that resilience often tastes like salt, smoke, and survival, shared across a generation that refused to give up hope. 12. Tuna salad sandwich picture. A church basement in the 1940s, laughter echoing as women in aprons mixed tuna with mayonnaise, chopped celery, and a dash of salt. The tuna salad sandwich was more than food, it was community. When meat rationing left shelves bare, canned tuna became the patriotic alternative, rich in protein and pride. Navy wives shared recipes that stretched a single can across 5 sandwiches, feeding entire families. Sometimes they added hard-boiled eggs or pickles when luck allowed. It was portable, affordable, and felt civilized amid scarcity. Church picnics and charity lunches adopted it, proving that fellowship could be tasted as well as felt. The aroma of tuna and mayo still whispers of simpler times of faith, laughter, and neighbors helping neighbors. Though forgotten by many, it remains a monument to ingenuity, proof that when a nation needed to feed both body and spirit, one humble sandwich rose to the occasion. 13. Egg and sardine sandwich. Imagine the clang of factory machines in the 1930s and a worker unwrapping his lunch, the smell of egg and sardine rising from between 2 slices of bread. Protein was survival, and this combination delivered it in abundance. Housewives mashed canned sardines with hard-boiled eggs, adding vinegar or onion to stretch flavor and feed the family longer. It was rich, oily, and hearty fuel for miners, dock workers, and immigrants who brought their preservation traditions from Europe. For some, it tasted of the old country. For others, of hard-won endurance. Though its scent filled lunchrooms, its value filled lives' nourishment when luxury was a word for someone else. As fresh meats became affordable, this sandwich quietly disappeared. Yet it left behind wisdom our ancestors knew instinctively. Nutrition and resilience often come hand in hand. The egg and sardine sandwich wasn't glamorous, but it kept America moving through its toughest days. 14. Bacon and peanut butter sandwich. In the 1940s, when a single strip of bacon was a rare indulgence, Americans learned to stretch flavor farther than they ever had before. The bacon and peanut butter sandwich was born, smoky, salty, and strange in all the right ways. Mothers fried one slice, crumbled it, and stirred it into peanut butter to spread the taste of meat across multiple lunches. It was genius, born of scarcity, turning thrift into satisfaction. The smoky salt played against creamy richness, creating a harmony far beyond its humble parts. Children loved it. Fathers found it sustaining. Sometimes a drizzle of honey or molasses transformed it into a Sunday treat. Long before sweet and savory became fashionable, this sandwich mastered the art of balance. It's a reminder that creativity in the kitchen often starts with hunger, and that flavor-like spirit can't be rationed. One strip of bacon, one miracle of invention. 15. Mayonnaise and onion sandwich factories buzzed through the 1930s, and inside workers' lunch pails lay a meal, both humble and hearty. The mayonnaise and onion sandwich. Sharp biting onions softened under the creamy weight of mayo, creating flavor both simple and bold. It was cheap, filling, and reliable, beloved by mill workers and laborers who needed sustenance to last long shifts. Housewives tamed the sting by soaking onions in water, layering them with care on buttered bread. A sprinkle of salt or black pepper turned scarcity into a sensory experience. It wasn't refined, but it was honest food that asked for nothing more than appreciation. As industrial America modernized this sandwich, vanished carrying with it a piece of working-class history. Yet every now and then one bite can take you back to a time when strength came from sweat, simplicity, and the quiet pleasure of something made with your own hands. 16. Chicken salad sandwich. Sundays in the 1930s meant roast chicken, and Mondays meant making it last. The chicken salad sandwich was the final act of thrift and love, taking scraps of meat, dicing them with celery, apple, or boiled egg, and stretching a single bird into lunches for a week. Housewives mixed, carefully balancing flavor and economy, creating a spread both comforting and dignified. At church socials, these sandwiches were cut into neat triangles, proving that elegance could exist without extravagance. For children, it was a taste of home packed in wax paper. For mothers, a small triumph over waste. Its soft crunch and creamy tang carried stories of resourcefulness, the art of turning leftovers into legacy. Even now, when abundance surrounds us, the chicken salad sandwich whispers a timeless truth. Real richness isn't measured in ingredients, but in gratitude for what we have and those who make it meaningful. 17. Chicken liver sandwich. In rural America of the 1930s, nothing of the chicken went to waste, not even the livers. Mothers simmered them gently with onions, chopping and mixing with a touch of mayo to make the chicken liver sandwich. It was rich and iron-dense with flavor and offered nourishment when little else could. Farm families packed them for long days in the fields, spreading strength between 2 slices of homemade bread. The taste was bold, earthy, unforgettable, the flavor of a generation that respected every part of the animal. Sometimes an egg or relish was added to stretch the filling, making each bite both humble and complete. While modern palates might shy away, this sandwich remains a testament to the wisdom of necessity. It reminds us that sustainability once meant survival, and that honoring food begins with gratitude for its entirety, not just the pretty parts we choose to keep. 18. Potted meat sandwich. Before refrigeration, potted meat was salvation. In the early 1900s, families preserved cooked meat sealed under fat, creating a spread that could last through winter. The potted meat sandwich carried that legacy into the Depression buttered bread, holding a layer of rich, savory paste that spoke of thrift and practicality. For factory workers and travelers, it meant a reliable meal, no matter the weather. The flavor was salty, dense, and oddly comforting, each bite connecting to centuries of preservation wisdom. As canning and cold storage improved, potted meat faded from memory, dismissed as relic food. Yet its story is one of foresight and respect of people who understood time, effort, and the value of making things last. In every jar lay history, ingenuity born from scarcity, and gratitude seasoned with survival. That's what America's forgotten sandwiches preserve, not just taste, but time itself. 19. Anchovy paste sandwich. Immigrant kitchens of the early 20th century carried secrets from the Mediterranean. Among them, the anchovy paste sandwich. Just a thin spread of salty, fishy paste over buttered bread, sometimes topped with slices of egg or onion, could evoke the taste of home for those far from it. In tenement apartments and factory towns, these sandwiches offered not luxury but identity, a link to ancestry preserved through flavor. The intensity of anchovy meant only a little was needed, and that thrift made it beloved among the working poor. A squeeze of lemon, a pinch of pepper, and suddenly the Atlantic felt smaller. Though its aroma divided opinions, its heart united generations that refused to forget their roots. The anchovy paste sandwich is a quiet immigrant anthem, a reminder that food tells the story of where we came from and that even the smallest bite can carry the weight of belonging. 20. Curried sardine salad sandwich. By the 1950s, America's taste buds were beginning to wander, inspired by soldiers returning from abroad and housewives eager for flavor. The curried sardine salad sandwich arrived as a bold fusion of necessity and adventure. Canned sardines, mayonnaise, lemon, and a dash of curry powder created something exotic from the ordinary. Chopped celery added crunch, sometimes apple or raisins lent sweetness. Spread thick on white bread, it felt worldly yet familiar. Post-war families embraced it as a way to spice up thrift, a small rebellion against blandness. It was the flavor of curiosity of a nation slowly learning that survival could also mean discovery. Though forgotten today, its golden aroma still tells of optimism of a generation hungry, not just for food, but for possibility. If your grandparents tasted this, they'd remember the moment America's kitchens began to dream beyond its borders. 21. Monte Cristo sandwich. Picture the golden glow of the 1950s, when diners gleamed and everything fried felt like joy. The Monte Cristo sandwich brought a taste of French indulgence to Middle America. Ham and cheese dipped in beaten egg, then grilled or deep fried until crisp and fragrant. Dust it with powdered sugar, served with syrup, and you had luxury on a lunch plate. Inspired by the French croque monsieur, it found new fame at Disneyland's Blue Bayou restaurant, where families discovered that even ordinary bread could feel like a feast. Sweet met savory, working class met whimsy, and the result was pure Americana. It was the flavor of post-war optimism, indulgent yet innocent. As health trends took hold, it faded, but its spirit never left. The Monte Cristo reminds us that after years of rationing, Americans finally allowed themselves to dream again, and sometimes dreams were dipped in butter. 22. Olive loaf sandwich. Step into a 1950s lunchroom where thermoses clink and the air smells faintly of mustard and bologna. Inside, countless brown paper bags sat an olive loaf sandwich, slices of processed meat speckled with green olives, layered with mayonnaise and lettuce. It was bright, briny, and oddly elegant, a blend of convenience and curiosity. For post-war families discovering the miracle of supermarkets, olive loaf felt sophisticated, a step up from plain bologna. Kids loved its color, parents loved its affordability. At picnics, it shared the table with chips and Kool-Aid, the taste of leisure for an emerging middle class. Over time, the rise of fresh and natural foods sent it into nostalgia's archive. Yet that distinctive tang still whispers of a simpler America, a nation proud of its progress, even if it came wrapped in wax paper. One bite, and you can almost hear the hum of a family station wagon heading home. 23. Macaroni and cheese loaf sandwich. In the bright kitchens of the 1950s, creativity met convenience in the most unusual way, the macaroni and cheese loaf sandwich. Imagine slices of a meatloaf-shaped block filled with bits of pasta and ham served between white bread with mustard or mayo. It was comfort food made portable, a marvel of mid-century ingenuity. Housewives loved its neatness. Children loved its novelty. It tasted like a Sunday supper packed for Monday lunch. Ads called it modern, a celebration of post-war abundance and industrial progress. Today, it might seem strange, even comical, but back then it symbolized the American dream that technology and imagination could make life easier, tastier, and endlessly inventive. When you see those glossy old ads, it's hard not to smile. The macaroni and cheese loaf reminds us that every era believes its food is the future until nostalgia makes it precious again. 24. Deviled ham sandwich. The story of the deviled ham sandwich begins long before modern kitchens in the late 19th century when the Underwood Company of Boston created a spicy meat spread that would outlast empires. By the 1930s and 40s, it had become a staple in lunchboxes across America. Housewives mixed it with mayonnaise, mustard, and pepper, spreading it thick between slices of white bread. Its fiery tang was unmistakable, a little luxury in lean times. The famous Red Devil logo promised flavor and reliability even when fresh meat was scarce. For factory workers and soldiers, it was a taste of home that traveled well. Over generations, the recipe barely changed, proof that good ideas endure. The deviled ham sandwich stands as a symbol of spice and monotony, reminding us that even in hardship, Americans found ways to add heat, humor, and heart to the everyday grind of survival. 25. Fish stick sandwich. The 1950s were the age of convenience, and nothing embodied that more than the fish stick sandwich. Gorton's of Gloucester brought frozen breaded fish into American homes, and suddenly dinner could be ready in 15 minutes. Mothers baked them golden, slid them between soft buns with tartar sauce or ketchup, and called it progress. It was crisp outside, tender within the taste of modern efficiency. School cafeterias embraced it, feeding millions of children with speed and satisfaction. In its simplicity lay comfort, a gentle reminder that technology could feed families and free mothers at once. Today, its crunch recalls the optimism of an era that believed in the future of frozen. The fish stick sandwich wasn't gourmet, but it was honest, dependable, and distinctly American, proof that even convenience can carry nostalgia, especially when served with warmth, care, and a side of memory. 26. Spam and pineapple sandwich. Hawaii had just become a state in the 1950s when mainland America fell in love with the spam and pineapple sandwich. Fried slices of spam met caramelized pineapple rings between toasted bread, a marriage of salt and sweetness that captured a nation dreaming of paradise. Soldiers had brought spam to the islands during the war. Islanders returned the favor with flavor. The result was uniquely American, bold, playful, and proudly improvised. Mayonnaise or melted cheese often joined the party, turning thrift into tropical luxury. This sandwich wasn't just food, it was fantasy, a taste of sunshine during suburban winters. Its popularity waned, but its memory lingers in barbecues and diners where nostalgia still cooks. The spam and pineapple sandwich remains a symbol of how America absorbs the world's flavors and makes them its own, celebrating joy where resourcefulness first began. 27. Turkey and cranberry sandwich. Every Thanksgiving left its aftermath. Mountains of turkey, jars of cranberry sauce, and the familiar challenge of reinvention. Thus was born the turkey and cranberry sandwich, a post-war miracle that turned leftovers into legend. Families layered slices of tender turkey with sweet tart cranberry between bread, sometimes adding stuffing for good measure. It was comfort, condensed gratitude you could hold. During the 1950s, homemakers embraced it as proof that abundance needn't lead to waste. The taste balanced nostalgia and renewal, carrying the warmth of holiday tables into the work week ahead. Each bite felt like a memory preserved, a thank you for both feast and famine survive. Even now, the sandwich endures, reminding Americans that every celebration echoes the struggles that came before it, and that gratitude, when shared, is the richest flavor of all. 28. Tomato sandwich. When summer arrived in the rural South, the tomato sandwich ruled every kitchen table. Fresh tomatoes, still warm from the sun, sliced thick onto white bread with a smear of mayonnaise, salt, and pepper. Nothing more, nothing less. The first bite burst with juice and sunlight, tasting like the season itself. In the 1930s, when gardens fed families through lean years, this sandwich was a daily miracle. It celebrated abundance that cost nothing but patience. Butter replaced mayo in the Midwest, vinegar appeared in the North, yet everywhere it meant the same simplicity turned sacred. As industrial produce replaced homegrown, the tomato sandwich faded from memory, but those who've tasted one know it's not just food. It's summer captured between two slices, the flavor of work love and the earth's quiet generosity. 29. Cucumber sandwich. Before it became a symbol of British tea time, the cucumber sandwich was America's refreshment for sweltering afternoons. In the 1930s, when meat was scarce and gardens plentiful, thin slices of cucumber laid over buttered bread offered relief from the heat. Farmers packed them for field work. Families served them at picnics beneath elm trees. Cool, crisp, and clean, each bite was a pause from hardship, a taste of green in a world of brown dust and toil. Sometimes dill or vinegar gave it tang. Sometimes just salt and silence were enough. The cucumber sandwich carried no pretense, only refreshment and renewal. It reminds us that even in struggle, people sought grace in small things, beauty in simplicity. It was summer's answer to scarcity, a whisper of comfort that asked nothing more than gratitude for the coolness of shade and a single ripe cucumber. 30. Cheese Dream Sandwich. The cheese dream born in the early 1900s and perfected in the Depression was America's open-faced answer to comfort. A slice of bread buttered and topped with cheese, toasted until molten gold. Some sprinkled breadcrumbs, others drizzled honey. It was cheap, quick, and magical warmth on a plate during the coldest nights. In the 1930s, it offered families dignity when meat was gone but hope remained. As television dinners rose, it disappeared quietly, yet its legacy lingers in every grilled cheese served today. The cheese dream was more than melted dairy. It was a promise that something small could still feel grand. Watching the cheese bubble, hearing it hiss, families found reassurance in the simplest alchemy, heat bread, and belief. It's proof that comfort doesn't need abundance, only imagination and a little fire in the heart. As we close this journey through America's forgotten sandwiches, one truth lingers. These weren't just meals, they were lifelines. Every slice of bread told a story of courage, thrift, and love strong enough to turn hunger into hope. From the smoky scent of fried bologna to the sweetness of bread dipped in milk, each bite carried the spirit of a generation that refused to give up. They remind us that comfort doesn't come from abundance, it comes from gratitude, creativity, and the people who share the table with us. So, next time you make a simple sandwich, remember you're holding history in your hands. Which of these forgotten flavors would you bring back to your kitchen today? Share your memories in the comments, your stories, keep this history alive. And if you enjoyed this trip through time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us again as we rediscover the recipes that built America one bite at a time.